Hi, I'm Colby Damaris. I'm a cadet at Norwich University. And before we begin our Memorial Day observance, we would like to recognize a very special man who has been a friend, a mentor, and a colleague to all of us here at Bow High School. However, Bow High School is not the only educational institution from which Jack Finan hails. Norwich University would also like to honor Jack Finan today. Today seemed fitting to recognize Jack, for it was he who encouraged and guided many students throughout the years, including those of us here today, to apply to a university that would prepare them to become members of the military. Jack's caring spirit, respect for the military, and of course, his longtime relationship and allegiance to Norwich University helped make it possible for these students to be accepted into this prestigious university and ultimately become proud members of the United States of America's military. Jack and his wife, Betty, have been members of the Bow community for the past 40 years. Jack has served in the planning board as a ballot clerk for most recently on the Bow Business Development Commission as vice chair. Jack has also been a long-standing and active member of the Bow Men's Club. What some of you may not know about Jack is that he is quite an athlete. He is an avid runner and race walker, competing in several senior Olympic events and holding state record in the 1,500 meter and the 5,000 meter in the 70 to 74 and 75 to 79 age bracket. In 2007, he placed 10th in the 1,500 meter and 11th in the 5,000 meter. Jack is also a well-known and much-loved substitute teacher here at Bow High School. Most often, if you ask any student who their favorite substitute is, they will undoubtedly say Mr. Finan. It is here at Bow High School that Jack has made a tremendous impact on the youth of Bow and surrounding communities. Many of you here know that Jack Finan is alumni of Norwich University in the ROTC program and that is why we are here.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming this morning. This is very important to me, and I'm sure it means much more to Mr. Jack Finan down here. And I'll start off with a little background on myself. My name is Robert Hickey, and I graduated from Merrimack Valley High School. I applied to Norwich in hopes to pursue a career in the United States Navy as a submarine officer. Knowing this, my father, Todd Hickey, who also works at Bow High School District, told me that Jack was an alum as well as a trustee at Norwich and that he would be able to help me. When I met him at his house one night, he assured me that I would be accepted no matter what the circumstances were. He also told me, by the way I introduced myself, he knew that Norwich would be the place for me without a doubt. He showed me his class ring too, which was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. It had been worn so much that the design was hardly visible. I could tell he was beyond proud of what he had done at Norwich, and I could tell that he was proud of me for showing a similar interest. What Jack did not know until now was how he changed my life. There were 180 naval officer contracts nationwide available, and I happened to be one of the few that received one. I've also gained an unbelievable amount of courage, honor, and pride from my decision to attend Norwich. I've met brothers and sisters that will forever be my closest friends. I will be going to Pearl Harbor for submarine naval training this summer in just a few short weeks. And most of all, I wear my Norwich class ring right now with pride as a rising senior. I can say my life has been forever changed in the best possible way, and that all this wouldn't have just been a dream if it wasn't for Jack. Jack, I don't know how to thank you for all that you've done for me. I'm blessed to have crossed paths with you, and I can assure you that the effort you put into me will be long-lived and much appreciated. I'm very honored to have met you, and I will proudly serve in the United States Navy as an officer thanks to the hard work and perseverance you put into me. Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Betty.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jonathan French. I'm a Bow High School grad of 2011. As a senior in 2010, I was troubled, as many of you current seniors know, with trying to figure out what I was going to do when I graduate. I wanted to just join the Army and go active duty, maybe go back to school at a later date. But one day, Mr. Finan came and talked to me and suggested I check out Norwich, saying it would be an enjoyable alternative to my plan. After an overnight stay at the school, I looked at my parents and said, nope, not for me. But after another meeting with Mr. Finan, he told me about the friendships he made, traditions that he went through, and life after rookdom. He told me about the benefits of graduating from Norwich. And now, after completing my 3rd year in the Corps of Cadets, I have a friendship that will last me my lifetime, an education that I would not trade for anything, life lessons that you can't learn at just any other institute of higher learning. And finally, I'm contracted with the Army to graduate as an active duty second lieutenant, a competitive position with recent cutbacks in the military. None of this would have been possible without the help of a man that will help anyone without any other benefit to himself than to see them succeed. My dear friend Jack Finan. To show our appreciation to Mr. Finan, Bow High School has made this plaque for him that says, in appreciation of our dedication, caring, or your dedication, caring, spirit, and service to Bow High School and the Bow community, 2014, Jack Finan. And would like to make him an honorary Falcon with this t-shirt. This one. No, it's not a t-shirt. Please help me invite my friend, our friend, Jack, up to the stage.
Thank you all so very much. I can honestly say I was never so surprised as I was this morning. I've got my 3 sons here and my youngest granddaughter. My daughter Megan came up from Virginia to spend this past week with me. To be able to teach at Bow High School has been one of the greatest privileges that I have ever had. Prior to coming to Bow High, I had gone to maybe 5 or 6 different schools where I was a substitute teacher. I got so disillusioned that I was seriously considering not subbing anymore until this high school was built. And so I've been here for 16 years, and I've watched so many of the students graduate and move on to greater lives. And to have you students, unfortunately I didn't have all of you, but saw you in the halls and so forth. It's been a privilege. This is, well, in my 81 years, I have received many awards, and I can honestly say that the awards that I have today have far greater meaning than any that I've had in the past. I thank you all, and to all you students, God bless and Godspeed. Thank you very much.
Good morning and welcome to our Memorial Day observance. In order that the solemnity of this observance is not interrupted, I would like to thank in advance all of the staff and students and everyone who has participated and helped with this assembly. To our invited guests, Bud Fitch, Reverend DeFranza, Phil Coggin, and a very, very special thank you to the Concord coachmen who rearranged family and work schedules to be with us here today. I would also like to thank all of the veterans that have come to join us today. For those of you that do not know this young man, his name is David Poulin. He is a senior here at Bow High and is also an enlisted member of the Air National Guard. He will be leaving for basic training or boot camp just after graduation in a few weeks. We are very proud of David, as we are all of our students that go on to join the military. And David will be your MC this morning. Thank you for doing this, David.
Our Memorial Day service will now begin. Please rise for the national anthem sung by Junior Amanda Thompson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Many of you know Miss DeFranza. She has been with us this year as a student teacher working with Mrs. Dustin. Her dad is Reverend Jeff DeFranza. Reverend DeFranza was a Navy Seabee who spent many years in Greece building ships and docks. He will now give the invocation. Please rise.
Thank you, Jack. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, today we gather together to simply honor the men and women who have served our country and served us so well. Because of the veterans of our armed forces, we experience the generous freedom offered to us this day. So thank you for those who have served. We also bring to our remembrance those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, giving their lives in the cause of freedom, the defense of the weak, and the hope of justice. There's no way we can repay them, so we simply thank you for each of them. We would be remiss, Lord, if we did not also express gratitude for the families and loved ones of those we remember today, for they too have contributed to the liberty we enjoy. Lastly, we pray for those who are actively serving around the globe and those who we've heard today are about to serve. around the globe, across the sea, and safeguarding the sky. Be with those who are in harm's way and those who lend immeasurable support and protection. So, Lord, thank you for those who have served, are serving, and for those who have sacrificed so much for us. May we ever be mindful that our freedom is not free, but has been bought at a price. For those who have paid it, we give thanks. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Reverend DeFranza. We invited Senator Kelly Ayotte to attend. However, she was not available, but has sent Mr. Bud Fitch, a representative from her office, to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Senator Ayotte sends to each and all of you the following message. Dear students and staff of Bow High School and honored guests, someone once wrote that Memorial Day is dedicated to those who gave up all their tomorrows so we could enjoy today. Memorial Day is indeed an opportunity to show reverence for America's most courageous soldiers, those who did not return from the battlefield. We call to mind the heroism of those who died while on duty and their willingness to serve a cause greater than themselves. With a deep sense of patriotism and a firm commitment to the values that make the United States a beacon of freedom, these men and women fought on the front lines of battles that helped shape the course of human history. Although it is important to set aside special time during the year to recognize fallen soldiers, our expressions of gratitude are not limited to one day. Whenever we exercise the privileges of our citizenship in a free and democratic nation, we demonstrate a tribute to those soldiers who died fighting to secure our liberties. As we take time to gather with our classmates, teachers, and community to acknowledge the praiseworthy contributions of our fallen heroes, we also need to turn our thoughts to the men and women currently serving overseas. We reaffirm our commitment to supporting their noble service and pray for their safe return. Sincerely, Kelly Ayotte, United States Senator.
At this time, the band and chorus is honored to present a selection called the Marches of the Armed Forces. This is a collection of all of the marches from each of the branches of the armed forces. We welcome you if you are a family member or if you know somebody who is in one of those branches. When you hear that song, we would love for you to stand up while that selection is being played. So we hope that you will join us with that. Feel free to sing along, too, if you'd like to.
From the halls of Monte to
I would like to honor and welcome Mr. Phil Coggin, a Vietnam veteran between the years of 1969 and 1970. He served in the Air Force from January 1969 through August of 1972. He has also been a teacher for 36 years, 33 of which were at BMS. Today he's going to speak about his father, William Coggin, a World War II veteran and a Marine Corps member.
Thank you. As we remember Memorial Day, I would like to briefly honor my father, who will turn 91 in July. William Coggin was born on July 8, 1923, in Lynn, Mass. Like millions of other Americans during this time, his large family of 10 had to endure the Great Depression of the 1930s. After Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941, my father enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps. He began basic training in South Carolina in very early January of 1942. On August 7, 1942, my father landed on Guadalcanal in the South Pacific with the 1st Marine Division. He was attached to Headquarters Company, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment of the 1st Marine Division. Time does not allow me the opportunity to describe all of my father's experiences during his 6 months at Guadalcanal. But let me just say that it was a life-altering experience for him and for all of those who survived this brutal campaign. After leaving Guadalcanal, my father's outfit became attached to General Douglas MacArthur's campaign in Australia and the surrounding South Pacific Islands. My father served in Melbourne, Australia. He then engaged in combat in Cape Gloucester, New Britain, which was part of New Guinea, Solomon Island chain. It was during this time that my father engaged in actions that later earned him the equivalent of the Bronze Star for Valor from the U.S. Marine Corps. After 2 years in the South Pacific, William Coggin returned home on leave in July of 1944. On August 1st, 1944, he married his high school sweetheart, Josephine Deslodges, in Lynn, Mass. Today, my parents have been married for nearly 70 years. My father spent the remainder of World War II stateside, stationed in North Carolina and Virginia. His unit was preparing to join with Allied forces that would eventually invade Japan. However, on August 6th and August 9th, 1945, 2 atomic bombs destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Shortly thereafter, Japan surrendered, ending the Second World War. On January 2nd, 1946, my father left the Marine Corps with his 20-year-old bride and their 4-month-old son. However, the Marine Corps never left my father. For nearly 70 years, my father has read extensively, he watched hundreds of documentaries, and has communicated with his Marine Corps buddies. Sadly, most of his buddies have since passed away. Like most combat veterans of World War II, he saw the gamut of human experiences in war: silence, fear, confusion, waiting, incredible courage, leadership, occasional cowardice, relief, strength, and always remembering. My father is a relatively quiet man, but he can still remember details of the war as if they happened yesterday. Again, like many who saw the hell of battle, my father kept silent about his war experiences for years. It was 8 years before he shared anything with my mother. It was 26 years before he shared anything with me, and only after I had returned from Vietnam. Perhaps he felt that I would appreciate what he went through. I did. My parents, in spite of their ages, are fairly healthy and very independent and happy. Yet my father still thinks, and he remembers. He has many happy memories of the war with his friends, his buddies, and so forth. But of course, he is still saddened when he thinks about those who gave their lives for our country, for our nation. Some were his friends. He sometimes wonders why he lived while others did not. To me, that is a fundamental question of life. Why? Again, I want to thank you very much for giving me this chance to honor my father's service during World War II and to honor those who died for our nation, for our people. If I may, I would like to finish with a very brief quotation from a Vietnam veteran, a decorated combat veteran named Stephen Mason, who has since passed away. He was a warrior and also a poet. He said, "This is the truth. The truth is that the only message taken from war is peace." I'm confident that my father would agree. Thank you. It is now my privilege to introduce Audrey Reed, this year's winner of Poetry Out Loud, will now recite Flanders Field.
In Flanders Field by John McCrae. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the skies, the lark, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. We loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
We would now like to invite the Concord coachmen to the risers.
Thank you, Director Eric. Thank you, Concord Coachman. I'd like to special thank you to Charlie and to Louie, who I think initiated this group coming to Bow High School. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
BHS students and guests, please come forward with your invited guests for the Veterans Salute.
I think what we'll do is we'll start around the back and we'll walk up to the stage this way. So anyone that has a veteran with them, please line up. Concord Coachman, would you also go in to the back of the auditorium? And someone should have your card, or if you still have your card, give it to one of the students, and they will escort you down.
Hi, everyone. Today I have the privilege to welcome and honor Pete Burdett. He served 21 years as a Navy pilot, and his flight time totaled over 5,000 hours, in which he flew all over the world. One of his most memorable events was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, where he and many others worked in an effort to drive the Iraqis out of Kuwait. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, I would like to honor and welcome Mary Lou Sharma, who served 11 years in the Army. She retired from government with 27 years. She served during the Gulf War, Desert Storm, and Desert Shield. She commanded 3 companies in Germany and Italy and the United States. Thank you.
I'd like to honor my dad, Mr. Duhame, and he was in the Coast Guard from 1982 to 1995. He was stationed in Hawaii, Alaska, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Thanks, Dad.
Come on up, Dick. I'd like to thank Mr. Dick Stevens. He's an active member of the Bow Men's Club. He served as a specialist 5th class in the United States Army during the Vietnam era. He served the will of his country from June of 1966 to June of 1969. He was a transportation movement specialist for 5 months in the U.S. and 30 consecutive months overseas in Germany. Thank you, Mr. Stevens, for your service.
I would like to take a moment for everyone that's going to be celebrating Memorial Day activities this long weekend to remember the spouses, the husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, brothers, and everyone who supported those of us deployed. They truly had to watch the children, buy the groceries, manage the house, and do everything, and they should be remembered also. Thank you.
Today I have the privilege of honoring my dad, Christopher Namey. He served as a United States Naval officer for 5 years, from 1985 to 1990. While stationed at Naval Nuclear Power School in Orlando, Florida, he was recognized as the Instructor of the Year in 1987 and awarded both the Naval Achievement Medal and the Naval Commendation Medal.
Hi, we are here to introduce our dad, Colonel Warren Perry, who joined the Army in 1986. He's a veteran of Desert Storm and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's retiring from the Army this summer after 28 years of service. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm Dr. Dr. Cohen's daughter, and I'm going to read off our family's military service. World War I, great-great-uncle, U.S. Marines, one of the original Devil Dogs. Great-great-grandfather, U.S. Army. World War II, Pacific Theater of Operations. Great-uncle, U.S. Navy. Great-uncle, U.S. Army. Grandfather's cousin, U.S. Navy. European Theater of Operations. Grandfather's cousin, U.S. Army. Grandmother's brother, U.S. Army Air Corps. Great-great-grandfather, British Army. Great-grandfather's cousin, British Merchant Marines. Cold War era. Grandfather, U.S. Army. Great-uncle, U.S. Army. Great-uncle, Canadian Navy. Great-cousin, U.S. Marines. And my father, U.S. Marines. Lastly, I want to honor my dad, Dr. Cohen. I am very proud of him for helping to defend our country, and I think we should thank and think about all veterans on Memorial Day.
I would like to honor both my brothers. Neither of them could make it today. My brother, 2nd Lieutenant Andrew Vindenberg, is currently stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, completing Field Artillery Basic Training Leadership course. He's in the 3rd of 197 Field Artillery Unit. Next February, he is being deployed to United Arab Emirates for 1 year. And my other brother, Jono, is currently in ROTC at Indiana University. He's a cadet sergeant, and he's in the German Badge for Military Proficiency competition, and he recently won top cadet out of over 300 competitors. I'm very proud of both my brothers and all they've accomplished.
All right, we decided to come up together because all of ours are still active duty. I would like to first honor my father, Dr. Joseph Dorenza, who is retired Coast Guard and is still actively working under 3-star admirals for the Coast Guard. He was an 82 grad of the Naval Academy and played football there. My mother, Captain Karen Dorenza, is active duty, and she joined the Navy as an officer in 1985 and was a part of Iraqi freedom in 2003 under Major Combat. She will be gladly retiring as of January 1st in 2015 under 30 years of service. And then my brother, who currently serves as Lieutenant Joseph Dorenza IV, he was a 2010 grad of the Coast Guard Academy and actively serves in Norway. Thank you.
I have the privilege to honor my parents, Louis DiGregorio and Veronica DiGregorio, who served in the Vietnam era at Camp Smith Marine Corps.
Hi. I would like to honor my father, Senior Chief Petty Officer Jason Thompson, who's been serving in the United States Navy since 1995 for about 21 years, and he's currently in Albany working right now. He served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm in Iraq, and yeah, he's awesome.
We would also like to honor our uncle, Seth Thompson, in the United States Army. He currently just got back from Afghanistan as a Black Hawk pilot.
Hi, everyone. Today I brought my grandfather, Bob Susi. He's a retired Air Force captain. He was enlisted for 13, I'm sorry. And he spent the next 10 years as an officer and captain, coming to 23 years of service in the Air Force. He worked in avionics, maintenance. He flew B-52s under the Strategic Air Command System. He was a missile combat crew commander, an intelligence systems planning officer, and he was the first program manager to develop joint service image processing systems. So thank you, Pepe, for what you've done.
I would like to honor my father, Matthew Poulin, for his service as a Navy Seabee from 2001 to 2007 in Brunswick, Maine.
I would
like to honor and welcome Mr. Phil Coggin. He was a sergeant in Vietnam between the times of July 1969 and June 1970. He served in the 63rd Military Assistance Command Unit in Vietnam and Cholon, Vietnam. He also worked at the Joint General Staff in Tan Sadat Air Force Base.
All right, I have two members to honor that are here, but I'd also like to honor my brother, who's a staff sergeant in the U.S. Air Force, currently stationed in Omaha, Nebraska. He's a computer programmer. And then I'd also like to honor Commander Greg Couture, who served from 1970 to 1993. He served in Vietnam, Beirut, Iraq, and Desert Storm. Thank you. Then I'd like to honor Tom Kyander, Navy Lieutenant 1964 through 1970, and he spent 19 months in Vietnam.
Today, I'd like to honor, and hope you all would as well, First Lieutenant Victor Wright, who served 6 years from 1962 to 1968 as a U.S. Army Chemical Corps officer.
I would like to thank two men, first being Charlie Griswold, who served in the U.S. Army from 1953 to 1955, as well as Paul Descota, who served in the Navy for 4 years from 1957 to 1961. Thank you for your service.
I'd like to thank Guy Hayes, U.S. Marine Corps, who served from 1966 to 1970, who was a Vietnam vet. And then I also would like to thank Dave Humphrey, U.S. Air Force, 1964 to 1968, who was a captain.
I'd like to honor Jayla Chance, a tech sergeant in the U.S. Air Force from 1959 to 1979. Thank you.
I would like to honor Dan Chase, a sergeant in the United States Air Force, and he's also a Russian linguist, and he served in 1964 and 1968. And Bill Anderson, Navy 55 to 59. He's sonar man, second class on the USS Kepler. Thank you for your service.
I would like to welcome and thank Lieutenant David Gruette, who served for the U.S. Navy from 1970 to 1978.
Today I have the pleasure of thanking Chief Third Class and Vietnam veteran Frank Bent, who served in the Navy from 1971 to 1974. Thank you for your service.
Today, I would like to honor Major Don Burns, who served in the U.S. Army from 1962 to 1969 in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Today, I would like to honor my dad, Greg Reed, who served as an aircraft commander, instructor, and evaluator pilot. He flew KC-135s and was stationed at Mildenhall in England and Milton in Florida. Thank you, Dad.
I'm honoring my father, Joseph Richard Duncan, U.S. Air Force, stationed in Tripoli, Libya from 65 to 67, and 2 tours of Vietnam.
Today I'd like to honor my grandparents, who met while serving in World War II in Germany and recently celebrated 50 years of marriage.
So as the last one, I'd like to slow it down a little bit. hero, Superman, Wonder Woman, fictional characters that we grew up with as kids. An invincible man and an incredibly strong woman. For you guys, those are the people that you looked up to. As a kid growing up, being a second grader with my dad gone, that would be my family. My family were my heroes. And with all these men standing here, I'd like to thank them as well, along with both my father, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Fessenden, my oldest brother, Specialist Michael Fessenden, my brother Casey, who you all know, Private First Class Casey Fessenden, and that would be all. Thank you.
At this point, we have just about 3 more minutes and we'll be done, but I wanted to thank David again, and a very special congratulations to our Jack, who we love so much. And thank you, Fine and Family, for coming. And a tribute to, I had 4 uncles actually in World War II, but I want to say that I know some of you didn't come up here, and I want to say a very special thank you to all of you. So do something special on Memorial Day in observance of those who gave their lives. We just have a couple more.